Hey, what's up everybody? Gannon here, back at it again with another one of my Star Trek reviews. In last week's episode of Star Trek Picard, we were met with a cornucopia of crazy, jaw-dropping references and Easter eggs aboard a place that I would compare to Imagination Land from South Park, where all of your craziest dreams, wildest imaginations can come true. Daystrom Station. Some of the things that we found aboard Daystrom Station, huge spoilers here if you haven't seen the episode, so just run away now. The Genesis 2 device had an attack tribble, which... more tribbles, and the remains, or essentially the body of Captain James T. Kirk, and I even saw somebody on Reddit claim that they zoomed in and there was like a heartbeat that these remains could have been alive, essentially. Meaning 2 deaths were potentially retconned in last week's episode. James T. Kirk's and also Data. The new Data was made from the amalgamation of multiple Soong-type units. Even though one could argue that last week's episode relied heavily on these references and also the revival of Data, I kind of felt that they did it in a really cool way, and I enjoyed the episode a ton. In today's episode, we're going to explore the revival of Data. We're going to see the consequences of having multiple Soong-type personalities in a single android, and we're going to get the Vadic rematch. They're going to lure Vadic aboard the ship in an attempt to capture her and learn more about the Changelings vendetta. Let's get right into it. Today's episode is Dominion, and that really led me to believe that there was going to be some really cool tie-in to the Dominion War. Maybe we would even get a live-action appearance of a Deep Space Nine member, and I also thought that the Dominion Deep Space Nine lore was going to heavily tie in and just enrich the plot of Star Trek Picard. And unfortunately, we start off in the Chintaka system, and besides them starting off in the Chintaka system, which is a really important system in Deep Space Nine, it was in at least 3 episodes, multiple important space battles fought there. It was a territory that lied between Ferenginar, the Badlands, Cardassian Federation space, so just right smack dab in the middle. And then there was that crazy episode that was called the Siege of ARR something, I forget the numbers. Nog lost his leg while they were defending against waves and waves of Jem'Hadar coming down onto this planet and trying to get this really important relay station. So they were in the Chintaka system, like the Titan was hiding there away from Starfleet and all of the changeling insurgents. Later in the episode, Vadic just kind of barfs out some very generic Deep Space Nine Dominion War lore that nobody is probably going to find interesting because everybody knows it like the back of their hand at this point. Everybody who's watching Star Trek Picard Season 3 is probably a longtime fan of Star Trek. It's very clear, especially, I just spoke in today's intro about how last episode was just an amalgamation of references kind of meant to tug at our sense of nostalgia. It's very evident that we've kind of abandoned writing a new plot. Like, you guys failed in Season 1 with the androids and the death of Data. Like, we're literally playing repair at this point because you guys killed Data and now we're bringing him back again. I don't have a problem with that. I actually kind of love it. You guys don't reference Soji and Raj. Like, you had the opportunity to put their personalities in the new Data, but you didn't. You guys are totally ignoring everything you did in Season 1. You kind of referenced it at the beginning of Season 2, Episode 1. Soji's character was there, and then you reused her actress later, had her be the evil Soong's daughter. But what I'm trying to get at here, and I just went on this really crazy rant, there's nothing new about the Dominion War. The only thing that we really learn in this episode is that these are changelings, and they're changelings that are pissed off because one woman, all we know is that one woman, we don't know who she works for, we don't know if she was for Section 31, all we knew is that she was a human. She could have just been working on some shady unofficial branch of Starfleet. We have no explanation for who ordered these experiments to be done, but Vadic's permanent form that she is, that decrepit woman with the kind of like veins and scars on her face, is the image of the woman who did just a bunch of really grotesque and violent experiments to the changelings and turned them into what they are now. Somebody at Starfleet ordered these changelings, remnants probably from the Dominion War. We don't know what kind of changelings these guys are. In fact, when you really think about changeling, when they're all together in the Great Link, they're all one, but when they're separated, they're individuals. So did these changelings do something during the Dominion War to like warrant them being experiments? Are they war criminals? Like, that is something that should have been discussed, but it's very lame, honestly. I'm just kind of ranting. Can you guys tell that I liked today's episode? Thought that it was a little bit shallow how, oh my gosh, so much was just not answered in today's episode. Vadic came aboard the ship. There was a whole bunch of action sequences, but there was so much that just didn't happen. Seven, at the beginning of the episode, in an attempt to actually get communication with somebody over in the inner workings of Starfleet, contacts somebody awesome and familiar, get the live action appearance of Tim Russ, which does put a smile on your face until you then realize that, of course, it's a cop-out and that's not really Tuvok. It is another one of the changelings posing as Tuvok, and they even infer that Tuvok has been, like, captured and he's maybe been hurt and we're all worrying about Tuvok. There's a lot of cutting over to the Shrike, Vadic's ship. They reference Will, Riker, and Deanna, but they never show them. It's very weird how I do not see Will or Deanna in this episode at all, especially when there was this scene where the floating face, obviously the boss, who is manipulating and ordering around these changelings, Face literally ordered Vadic to go and, like, kill Will or Deanna in front of the other, to mutilate them, or just, like, basically take one apart in front of the other in order to crush them, in order to make them fold. And they just kind of ignore that. Like, Vadic just sits in the chair, and we never go back to that. We never see Deanna, and we never see Will. It's a little bit strange. A large portion of this episode is taken up with Jack and Sidney kind of forging a romantic relationship that was teased in last episode. Jack is actively now flirting with her and then going into his sleeper agent trances and making direct eye contact with her glowing red eyes. And there's a lot of scenes that imply that Jack is a hybrid species of something. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking it would be kind of cringe if he was a changeling in some way, shape, or form. What if he was one of those changelings that just held its form forever and didn't know that it actually was human? That would be a little bit cringe. They find out how to track the changelings after they find out that there was experiments conducted on them by Starfleet. They search up the actual name of the experiments that were done on them, but it doesn't reveal who ordered these experiments to be done. I think that's important. Eugenics performed by Starfleet, it should be totally illegal. The only way that this would be sanctioned is if Section 31 did it in a back room, and even then, if they found out who did it and they presented it to Starfleet, and if they could arrest them, they would. It just seemed like this episode, for me, was not satiating me. It was not answering any questions. There was a lot happening, but really nothing of substance was I getting out of it. Essentially, Jack and them are evading Vadic. This whole episode felt like a Scooby-Doo chase, like they're going through the corridors, you know, running away from the monster. The part that really entertained me is Data's arc throughout the episode, where we learned that there are real consequences, that there are multiple personalities in Data and memories from all of the different Soong type androids. Again, it is really bothering me that they are not referencing Soji, Data's new daughters, or Raj at all. Even if you don't like season 1, and even if we are going to act like season 1 didn't exist, it would just kind of be nice to reference them. It's a little bit disrespectful how you guys don't reference anything that happened in the 2 seasons, like you really don't care about it. They just kind of lightly do it at the beginning of the season, and then it's just all over. Been a couple voice lines where Captain Shaw has taken an opportunity to just take digs and jabs about how ridiculous some of the events of the last 2 seasons have been. Sorry if it seems like I'm ranting and I'm like a big Star Trek Picard hater. I've actually loved this season so much, and this series so much for the most part. I just am a little bit, I guess, frustrated at today's episode. It really played with your feelings and nothing really happened okay, Lore and Data are in this android and they're fighting. Ooh, that hasn't happened in Star Trek before. I swear that's happened so many times where there were multiple personalities in a single being. And you get this really strong performance from LeVar Burton playing Geordi, how he's begging Data to come out and resurface so that he could save Sidney. When Vadic and them storm the ship, I didn't mention this, but I feel like if you guys seen the episode, you already know. Picard and Beverly come up with an idea to actually trap Vadic aboard the ship in order to get more information. And when they do that, Vadic basically reveals no information. And like I've complained about before, barfs out Dominion war lore and then also explains that these changelings are just experiments from an operation that Picard is, like I said, able to look up, but we can't find the director to it. What's going on there? LeVar Burton's performance was really good. Data is really intriguing me. I really would like to know what Data is going to look like at the end of the series when he actually defeats his inner demons, his brother, and they actually combine. It's like Naruto and Kurama from Naruto Shippuden, and he actually gets along with the fox and he becomes super strong at the end of the series. Sidney is hot. Sidney is super hot, and I was really worried she was going to die. I was also really worried that they were about to do some Game of Thrones shit and just have Lore just go out and grab Geordi and like snap his neck or something. I was so worried when the door opened. I was like, no, Geordi, get away from that android. That thing could break you and fold you like a piece of origami. Really worried somebody was gonna die this episode. Jack is able to use like telepathy almost. I really don't want him to be a changeling. That would be really corny if Picard had a changeling son. It's also confirmed that they're literally trying to use Jack's blood and Picard's deceased remains to make like a perfect double of Picard. For what reason? It's just a copy of Star Trek Nemesis, like the plot at that point, like they're going to create a Shinzon. What if it would be insane if they were going to make another Shinzon and they actually had Tom Hardy come and play him again? That would be so insane. Lore being the chaotic element just lets all of the force fields down, requiring Jack to do some more Matrix gun choreography and shoot up Vadic's goons. Vadic escapes and they take the bridge. In the moment they take the bridge, like 7 or 8 more of her goons just show up out of nowhere. Don't know where they came from. The Titan has been stolen. Picard and them are down in the lower decks and they're going to have to come up with some plan in order to retake it. This was literally just plot to fill up the 7th episode. I am really discontent. This one was really low budget. We saw Tuvok, but not really. I hope this is the most disgruntled you guys see me for the rest of the season, because this episode was really not doing it for me. I'm going to actually give it like a 4.5 out of 10. I think it's subpar. Kind of cool getting to see Captain Shaw shoot somebody in the face, but he got beat the hell up afterwards. Wonder if they're ever going to do anything with that Captain Kirk cameo in the last episode. Like, are we ever going to see anything come out of that? William Shatner going to come back in his old age, just be Kirk for one last time and be like, hey, remember when Picard buried me under those rocks? That didn't happen. Also didn't see any of Worf or Raffi in this episode at all. They were supposed to be on their way back, and I assume they're going to be the ones having to come to their rescue in next week's episode. So I'm going to look forward to that. I really thought that they would have Vadic beaten. And at the end of the episode, Vadic over the comm loudspeaker says, hey Jack, it's time to learn what you are. I am never going to forgive them for calling this episode Dominion and for having this episode do nothing to just kind of make the plot juicier, have no tie-ins with the Dominion War. I have no knowledge of the status of the actual Great Link, of the changelings on their home planet. They didn't discuss that. Like, Vadic really acts like all of her revenge is just from her personal experience, and this is what, like 2 gallons of goop that they experimented on. That is not the entire Great Link. What is the health of the Great Link? What is their relationship with the Federation? And it's also clear to me that all of the experimented on changelings have a shortened lifespan. They're almost like definitely a part of a terrorist group. They've all been tortured by the Federation. They're very pissed and they want to get back at them on Frontier Day. What is going to happen? This episode, I would very much compare it to like the season 2 episode where Picard and Gannon like get captured by the FBI and they have that really bad Vulcan flashback. This is the useless episode of the season, the one that I'm probably going to make fun of and poke at in the future. So that is how I feel about today's episode. 4.5 out of 10. Very much looking forward to next week's episode. I'm a little bit sad there's only going to be 3 more episodes of Picard. This very might well be the last time we ever see Patrick Stewart play this character. Very, very sad. I think we're going to get an Admiral Janeway cameo. They've name-dropped her like 3 times in this season alone. Very clear to me that this would be the best opportunity to do it. This is going to be the only time we're going to see this time period in a live-action setting for probably ages. I think it's coming. We're going to see Kate Mulgrew within the last 3 episodes. And hopefully it's the real her and not some changeling phony. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning into another one of my Star Trek reviews. I am very, very happy with how my last couple videos have been doing. I feel very blessed about the amount of people who have watched them, the amount of people who have just been commenting, liking the videos, and especially subscribing. That all means so much to me. So please, if you have anything that you would like to share, leave it down in the comments below. They are my favorite aspect about YouTube. I love the interaction, and I love seeing what you guys think about the episode and what you guys think about my review. What do you guys think? Are they ever going to do anything with James T. Kirk's body? And then also, are we going to see Admiral Janeway before this ends? And is next episode going to make me happy, or is it going to make me sad? Please leave a like on the video. If you're enjoying any of the content on the channel, I'd be very flattered if you were to subscribe. Hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Live long and prosper.